When I first started the channel, I remember telling myself that what I wanted to talk about were pretty much the topics that would make it to my journal, my handwritten journal. But I felt I wanted to give a voice to, because it's one thing to write down things, but it's another thing to actually hear the voice of the author through them. And I wanted to become comfortable with the way that I sounded. And it's one of those things that I just felt like I was comfortable with the voice in my mind, the voice in my head, but my actual physical voice, the one that I used to deliver needs, wants, frustrations, you name it, I just never really felt proud of it for some reason. But now, after so many years of watching myself from a third person perspective and accepting that, hey, I'm just normal, despite, let's just say, lacking encouragement growing up, doesn't mean that I'm any less interesting or my life is not as worthy, I guess, as any other. Eventually, it evolved. I don't want to say devolved, because transitioning into negative topics is not a bad thing. It just means that I have comfort in an area that could be associated as uncomfortable, and that's something that I'm super proud of. It evolved into topics that were more about negative things, the sad things, the things that kept me down and made me feel down and lost and sad, and that have haunted me since forever. But again, I was never confident with my voice, and then I said I want to get to a point where I can be how I'm meant to be, how I like being, which is talking about anything. And if there's something I want to talk about, is the thing that I have mentioned before but broken up into pieces. But now I wanted to have an official topic where I can once again compile things that are the experiences that led me to my current state. In other words, my journey to saltiness, because it's very evident that there are a lot of things that I'm just fucking salty about, and I get criticized for it, and I'm like, I feel sometimes like the reason you say that to me is because I'm a woman, because I don't represent the threat of, I guess, a violent reaction. I don't know what it is, but it's crazy how comfortable some people can be at saying those things. So I thought, how about if you hear directly from me what the things are in my reality that, I guess, led me down the path of feeling salty and feeling unexcited and frustrated, and to a certain degree, a certain despair when it comes to my experience, my journey as a human being in the 21st century, which is supposed to be the greatest century ever because of the commodities that we have. The first thing I want to talk to you about is my journey through education being interrupted through scholarships cuts. What you have to understand about me and scholarships is that I'm super poor. If I wanted to go get a higher education as an American, I need to pay big money for that. And if you're an individual who doesn't come from big money, that means you're going to have to borrow it. Borrowing money means indebting yourself. To be in debt means that you have money that you have spent that you didn't have, but it's not money that somebody else just paid for and you don't owe. This is money that pretty much essentially in the future, as you make money, that money isn't yours. It's money that you have to set aside to send to somebody else because you owe it to them. Because of that, I said to myself, since I don't have a very stable life, how about if I don't get involved in a debt that will be far greater than I can handle peacefully? And by that I mean, I don't like the pressure of deadlines. I don't like having to sacrifice my body, for instance, working more than I'm designed to be working, to then suffer prematurely from pains, aches. In other words, sacrificing myself, sacrificing my comfort, sacrificing my peace, all in the name of grinding so that I can afford to obtain a piece of paper that's supposed to bring me respect and I have to stress over it. I'm not like that. One of you guys pointed out in my last stream that you admire how calm I am. I can tell you, if I had succumbed to the pressure of a higher education and being indebted and me still scrambling to this day on how to make it work, even if I had a better job, which define what a better job is. There are so many choices for jobs that when you have a degree, you're supposed to have the door open for. But I also think, what about the thing that deep down makes me feel better, makes me feel fulfilled, such as having time or just the freedom to manage my schedule differently? Just things like that. The things that my current job, as easy as it is, allows me. And by easy, I mean that it's one of those jobs that you can have not having a degree. But at least I have flexibility with time, whereas there are others where that isn't negotiable. So I'm getting what I paid for, you could say, or what I didn't pay for. Ultimately, I always wonder what would my life have been if I would have been able to get into higher education. But sometimes I think about modern day college and how it seems like it's lacking structure, the way I see it, the way that it is taught. The private education route would have been the best suited for me, but again, that's even more expensive. How was I supposed to pay for that? Because scholarships kept getting cut. Programs where you could have your loans forgiven were being cut. I said to myself, everything that I could have had access to make this accessible for me is getting eliminated. I'm not going to go around begging to be given a chance. It's, you already don't think I'm worth the chance. That's why you're cutting this. Why would I humiliate myself? I don't get it. I'm already humiliated enough. I loved school. I loved learning. I loved the institutions of education. But unfortunately, they closed their doors on my face. And in a sense, I'm happy it worked out that way because, again, that is a mess that I never had to worry about, considering the other things that I have had going on that I always worried about. Now, as a worker, I can tell you that as a worker of anything at all, you would think that you would be entitled to some benefits. And I find it appalling that based on status is how you get benefits, whether you're full-time or part-time. And I'm thinking, well, part-time is going to be the bigger workforce because it's convenient. You don't have to give them benefits, but you can have performance expectations from them that are the same as the performance expectations from full-time workers. But I also think whether someone is part-time or full-time, they're still a person taking time of their day, showing up, contributing, doing things. And I get that the whole point of giving benefits for full-time workers is to entice you to spend more time there, but also to justify consuming your time and keeping you away from other areas of your life. Then there has to be a reward for such a thing. But again, a job, it's somewhere you're showing up to, doing work, no matter what, compensate everybody. Perhaps not at the same rate, but at least give them the option of opting into those things. Because even the things that are not the full care package that you may get out of benefits, say those company benefits that you get from just being an employee regardless of status, those get revised, modified, and cut pretty often to the point that you'll reach a status where as a part-timer, you may begin to lose money showing up to work than making money. Whereas the full-timers, it's something kind of similar. They still make money, they still have their little ass benefits, but at some point, you are still working more, the job is getting harder, the job is getting more demanding, and you as an individual, because of the merciless passage of time, may begin to suffer some changes and your competitiveness may begin to decline, especially physically. But when it comes to mentally, maybe you have an advantage because of experience, but maybe you're starting to have a disadvantage because of the complexities of life and how you're being drained. Why on God's green earth would you continue to cut benefits You need to continue to add benefits, especially if as a company you're boasting continuously about how you have had great sales, how your sales went up, how during the holidays you hit blah 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 target. For the workers, those of us who don't get excited and don't celebrate those things, you have to understand where that sentiment is coming from. Maybe we feel that way because we have to look forward to the next thing you're going to announce that you're going to cut. As a worker, I have never experienced decent benefits. At the time that I was able, especially physically, to be a full-time worker, I was slept on. I was never given the opportunity. Now the opportunity rains upon me because life has changed and companies are desperate to fill positions with decent people. But I'm like, you want decent people with the experience, but you don't want to pay them. Why would I do that to myself? I would rather be out here supplementing my income on the side at my own pace and not suffering so much, experiencing a degree of inhumanity because I'm supposed to just tolerate everything that you throw at me and the uncontrollable factors like the weather and how people behave during those weather events, the announcement of things being affected supply wise, and I have to put up with all that, but I'm not compensated more when my job is becoming more challenging and I'm filling in things that are beyond my job description. Come on. The little things like that. I have never experienced a workplace that you could say was functional. It was an even trade. You can always tell that there's someone gaining more from this than you are, despite the gain coming from your efforts. How am I supposed to feel about that? There's no way I can feel proud about circumstances like that. And I feel that way no matter where. It could be school, it could be I work for retail, say the medical field. It doesn't matter. You're doing work. Therefore, you should be respected as such. But for some reason, when you're a worker, it's like you sign away your rights and your dignity and stuff. And I don't agree with that. I think that's miserable. Another thing I can mention is the one that we all perceive, of course, and that is inflation. You have been working all this time, making plans, looking forward to the future, only for the future to do what? Just find ways to take the little bit that you have been able to save up or set aside through work and sacrifice and deprivation, in some cases, depriving yourself of experiences, depriving yourself of a certain lifestyle, just if you want to be responsible, saying no to things more often than you say yes to things, what is that supposed to do to your mind? And on top of that, those who don't suffer from a lack of resources telling you that the reason you're not enjoying the lifestyle they're enjoying is because you're not working hard enough. Get the fuck out of here. I'm not even going to expand on that. My rent has doubled in the past 10 years. And by doubled, I'm being generous. I haven't actually done the math. It has more than doubled. And just like jobs and benefits being cut and you getting less while doing more, rent is no different. I've been living at this same place for about 12 years now. My rent has doubled and some benefits have been taken away, such as water used to be free, now it isn't. Other things that we had access to that we don't have access to anymore as amenities. But superficially, they have claimed to have renovated the inside while the plumbing issues are still there. And the outside, there's been a lot of bullshit landscaping that no one really asked for. But now it's like, well, we cut down some trees and we built some pathways here and there. Yeah, that justifies the rent going up in price. I didn't ask for those amenities. I'm not taking advantage of those amenities. Maybe what you should do is at the time of leasing, be like, okay, we offer a pool. Are you going to use it? Because if you're never going to use it, then let me bring your rent down by $200, whatever the price of it is. When it comes to renting, there are things that you don't have a say over that you should have a say over because you don't get to indulge in it. It's like you're buying food that's going to go bad on you and you're just throwing it away. If I could save the money on the amenities I don't use, I could afford electricity and food better. But no, you have to bundle it like that to make it appealing to the resident. But again, I don't care about that. Those impressions are the things that little kids care about. So let me have a say over that, and maybe I will be able to give you better reviews. better survey answers when you ask me for them, that you won't have to work hard to try to get them deleted from the internet. Another thing I find appalling is retirement age increasing. I'm not quite there yet when it comes to retiring age, but it's something that's coming because, again, that time passage is merciless. It doesn't stop nor consider anyone for any reason. But the fact that I can think of my family members and being like, okay, retirement age is going up for them, and their retirement is not going to take them as far as what they worked for, as what they planned for, as what they hoped for, that's going to leave a lot of people angry and salty, with every reason to. You have every right to feel that way after all the sacrifices that you made, that you were aware you were making because of the future. Now your future is here and you realize that it was all a goddamn lie. How are you supposed to recover from that? There aren't enough therapists, probably not enough qualified, experienced therapists to help a person rebound from such a disappointment. So the time that you have spent at a job, all of the events that you have missed out on, the way your body is crapping out, and you're supposed to be using that crapped out body to continue your output, to continue working. I mean, when a car finally dies on you because of old age, do you continue to drive it? Do you continue to feel safe and happy driving it when the pieces of it are falling apart? No. Why would you do that to a human being? I don't know. One last thing I can think of is how as soon as you learn something, it becomes obsolete pretty quickly because of the pacing of life, this fast life that we seem to be living everywhere we go, or the whole learn this, but a new thing is going to be replacing it soon. Again, what is the point? Like I have always asked on this channel, what are we working toward? Where are we headed? Why are we doing the things that we're doing? Why are we trying to go to space so badly? I don't want to go to space. I don't care about space. I can't care about going to space when my home, my planet right now, has so many issues. You guys have heard me say how you gotta fix your problems at home before you can aspire to have other things working for you. Or at the very least, if you're going to be an ace at the job, don't let your home fall apart. Or if you're going to have your home falling apart, you better be an ace at work. But if you're both a failure at work and at home, then something else is up. That's the way I see this whole space adventure. If we don't have our issues resolved at home, what makes us think that we can exit this home and go somewhere else and be better over there? Deal with it better, live in it better. That doesn't make any sense to me. It's we're taking our issues from here and taking them elsewhere. No, I'm not excited about that. So in sum, everything I just said, the way I would describe it is living with broken promises. After all the work I did in my K through 12 education, that didn't mean a damn thing. It didn't guarantee that I was going to college, but at least on the plus side, I can read, I can write, I can speak, I can think, I can organize things, I can draw little things here and there, I can interpret symbols, do those basic things. So it wasn't a complete waste. I don't want to disrespect my teachers. They were all great. But when it comes to getting me settled down in the future as an adult, it didn't. It didn't. Here I am struggling, and a lot of issues from that past still are unresolved, and they'll probably never be resolved. Because resolving them would require that certain folks become accountable, and accountability doesn't seem to be something that everybody is just comfortable with and prepared for. Ever see how someone just blows the fuck up whenever you start having a difficult conversation? The way someone reacts to something is a reflection of something deeper in them. And I think that's where we need to redirect our efforts to getting people to have better attitudes and be comfortable with those difficult conversations. Living with broken promises, that was my quest at how I ended up being salty. And I will continue to be aware of this. I don't care if people describe it as victim mentality. Yeah, I am a victim, whether you like it or not, because I inherited problems that I didn't ask for, that I didn't get myself into. It was just the stuff that was handed down to me, and I'm just trying to make it work for me. I do cry, I get frustrated, I get sick, I get hurt. I don't even get to go to the doctor for those things that I know I need to get checked out. At the end of the day, there's so many of us that technically my life doesn't matter. I can be quickly replaced. But if you ever wonder where the cycle began and how it continues, maybe start there. Start objectively exploring those topics because you have been so distracted by your job or whatever the fuck keeps you distracted that you don't like to have this conversation openly. And maybe that is the problem. That's the problem that you have in your home. That's the problem that you have at your job. That's the problem that you have in your relationships. That's the problem you have everywhere. So just get comfortable with talking about the things that adults are supposed to be comfortable talking about. Those defensive reactions, those avoidant, dismissive reactions, those are the reactions of little kids that you should be correcting on little kids. Once you're grown, those are not supposed to be your reactions, period.